mental health, the mind, the psyche and the paranormal. A personal perspective. I want to preface this little article by saying that I am by no means a mental health professional, but that I have done my research and spoken to those that are mental health professionals and have been privileged enough to be given some much needed insight into what I believe may well be a more widespread phenomena that are occurring within the paranormal than we may know. Those people out there that are believers, non-believers, skeptics, psychic or possess some form of ability, researchers and professionals alike, seem to all be professing to have come to the conclusion and the belief that everyone that is within the paranormal as a whole, from investigators, to researchers, to tech makers, to those with psychic abilities or those that believe in the paranormal for whatever reason, or even those that don't believe but have witnessed things they cannot rationalize or explain away, have in some capacity a mental illness or are mentally unstable or suffer from psychotic breaks in reality, is just not the truth. Most people who have something to do with the paranormal, have their specific reasons for being within the paranormal as a whole, and more often than not it has nothing to do with their mental state. I am not saying that the paranormal, which just happens to be a very broad term that covers a vast number of people, entities, and things, that science cannot prove or disprove and that has no real rationale for what occurs, does not contain its share of those that may well suffer from some form of mental issue, illness or stress-related break or lapse, and find it easy to hide behind the construct of the term paranormal when they do in fact possess an illness of the mind and have mental health issues and instabilities. I will say that there may well indeed be some that are quite mentally unstable or that have some or many mental health issues, and by that I mean there are many things that fall under mental health issues that can be exacerbated and aggravated by the paranormal and the experiences you may have to deal with by being in the paranormal, that have found a way, no matter how big or small that way may be, as hard as that may be to believe, to find refuge and seek acceptance within the community of the paranormal as a whole. Truth be told, I have no doubt there are some that have in fact done something to assert themselves into the paranormal in a way that causes them to have focus-based recognition, notoriety and attention on a continual basis. I am quite certain that for the most part, they themselves are seeking answers in some capacity as to why it is they have endured what they have and why they are as they are now, and they, I am sure, will do all they can to try to find a way to fit in and integrate themselves within the paranormal as a whole in some capacity, or try and become a part of a particular community, sect or group where they can remain obscure and not be seen as being any different from anyone else that is within the paranormal. Now mind you, I am not a mental health specialist, I just speak from my own personal experiences over the past years and from those that I have met, worked with, encountered and come to know on a personal level. After taking the time to find and speak with a mental health professional about some things that I had seen and my desire to better understand and know how to handle and deal with some others, I now understand some things much better than I did before, and I have learned that there are those that suffer from a mental health disorder and illness known as HPD or histrionic personality disorder, which is in fact, a combined group of disorders and illnesses, that affect and afflict people in such a way that they have this overwhelming need to in some way continually always draw attention to themselves, which unfortunately causes them to act and behave in ways that are extremely overly dramatic and overly emotional, to the point that they will do anything they have to do to gain empathy, sympathy, notoriety and to be the center of attention. Usually culminating in being overly emotional, lashing out, being hateful, vindictive or overly affectionate, and most certainly will cause undue drama and chaos to put the focus on themselves, so they are either seen as the victim or hero. For the most part they only end up causing themselves to be hurt or to be seen in very displeasing manner, and more often than not they become very antisocial and full of anger and rage. But as with any disorder, issue or illness, as you know, they can and will do things that can cause others to be hurt, judged or be put in danger both physically and emotionally, if it means they can get the attention taken off of a particular person or persons and focused on themselves for a variety of reasons within their own psyche or mind. Often they feel wronged or ostracized and are looking for a way to validate and vindicate themselves, but in reality what they do is the exact opposite of that. The addiction to the paranormal and all that the paranormal encompasses, For some becomes an obsession and an addiction. They may become so obsessed with or addicted to the paranormal on a level and to such an extreme degree that they will drop anything and everything to pursue their obsession and their addiction to paranormal. When someone has to go to this level and does this, within the realm of mental health professionals, more often than not they would be said to have what is known as IOD or intrusive obsession disorder, and what is so very sad about it is that it is very unfortunate in that they will destroy their families and family ties, relationships of all kinds, friendships and jobs, and they suddenly become quite reckless and careless and reclusive, and their personalities may drastically change as well. The broadness of the field of paranormal investigation, study and research, especially the aspect of actively pursuing ghost hunting as it is so often labeled and referred to, is by far not an exact science. I would dare to say it is not a science at all, as it is an ever-changing, ever-evolving and such a vast and broad field as a whole that, to say the least, paranormal investigating, or ghost hunting, would be a science category and classification all its own. Dare I say this, from what I have observed and come to better understand and know, over the years, it can, for a great many people out there, provide them with the much sought after and needed material they have sought out for their flights of fantasy, make-believe, games at others' expense, and the materialistic fame, wealth and popularity that some will do anything to attain and to maintain, no matter what the cost or who they have to step on, use, or in some cases steal from to get to that level within the paranormal as a whole. From what I have personally experienced and observed over the years, the very foundation of faith, beliefs and belief system, and the extraordinary expectations of those doing the paranormal investigations or those that are paranormal researchers, can and most certainly does cloud and color the way that they perceive things, and thus in my own personal viewpoint I would say that this is the very reason why those that are in the field and study of paranormal research and investigation should really, truth be told, be neither a believer or a disbeliever, but rather have and keep an open mind and be a bit skeptical, so that way anything that may occur or does occur will not be tainted by or biased by any preconceived ideas, ideals, thoughts or theologies. While I know from being a part of this field for some time now, just how very important it is to do your background work and research and to have your theories to test and your questions to try to find answers to, I also know that you have to remember that if you come into an investigation with any kind of preconceived foresight that could sway you from being able to be objective, or with a very heavy strong perception and beliefs one way or another, you could well be placing yourself in a position to where you will misinterpret events and occurrences because of your ideals, beliefs, preconceived knowledge and preconceived foresight. If you overanalyze and try to explain things away or try to over-rationalize things, you are doing yourself, your investigation and your client a big disservice and doing nothing but creating even more undue and unnecessary stress and questions rather than finding objective, factual, truthful answers with credible, tangible documentation of the evidence you have collected that has not been tainted, altered or manipulated in any way. For so many that are within the umbrella of the paranormal, they seem to have forgotten that not everything is paranormal and not everything has to be. There are times when stressors, emotions, your health and simple tricks of the mind can and do cause issues for you, and thus that is why there is such a strong need to be aware of and ensure how mental health, both your own, those with you and those being affected by the occurrences they have asked you to explore and investigate, play such a vital role in the paranormal field as a whole itself. Because there is a great deal that is contained within our own minds and psyches that may lay dormant and surface at such a time as you are enduring or undertaking now or before you do your investigations or research. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but misperceptions are a very big part of things within the paranormal field as a whole. Due to the nature of the unusual circumstances, people, situations, and places that those that do paranormal research and investigations are placed in, it would really be to think that these misperceptions don't occur. An example of what I mean by misperception is this, that it is not normal by any construct or means for anyone to think that someone would be able to sit completely motionless in the dark and not react to or attend to any slight sound or feeling, because truth be told, it is way too easy to misperceive things, especially when you take into account the fact that your own emotions may be on edge, and you, Yourself may already have had a rough day or may not be feeling well, or for that matter you just may not be able to sit completely still and motionless and be devoid of feeling or reaction. If you stop and think about it for a minute, I am not sure that I know anyone, when they have experienced the sensation of being alone in a darkened room or place, and they feel as if someone touched them, or they hear noises like bangs or shutting doors or footsteps, or they feel as if something is causing them to have goosebumps, or the hairs on their arms to stand on end, or as if your hair is being touched or lifted, and you want to desperately say it is surely paranormal. I want you to stop for a moment and remember that your hair has sensory or touch receptors, and when you bend your hair or it is moved from one position to another, it can trigger the receptors, and thus you feel as if someone ran their fingers through your hair or touched your hair, when really all that happened was your hair was moved from one shape to another by some means or another. And you have to remember the same is true about the hair on your arms as well, and that your skin and body react to change in temperature. So remember to not forget to factor in all those things when you are doing your investigations, and ensure that it was not something that you may have done or a natural phenomenon that caused this to happen. That is not to say that a spirit or entity cannot and will not touch you or cause you to feel the goosebumps on your flesh. It just means you have to ensure you take all things into account and don't discount anything, be it paranormal or not. Ensure that you factor in everything, and remember that your mental well-being and health, as well as the mental health and well-being of those with you and around you, as well as those that you have been affected by the things they are saying to experience, is factored in and taken into account, and that you ensure you maintain your mental health so that you are well equipped and prepared and equipped to better understand how mental health, the mind and the psyche affect the paranormal and what you are trying to do.